Optimizing for value, sure, there is a savings component to it. Everybody likes to save, but optimizing for value might mean innovation and speed. And as FinOps practitioners, putting the scaffolding in place for reporting and visibility so that you can move fast. And maybe it's a moment where you're pausing the initiatives around savings in order to drive innovation.
I'm excited to share that level 2 is here. This level is designed to connect that visibility to strategy through supporting planning and estimating, forecasting, budgeting, and governance so that AI investments stay aligned with business goals.
Why FinOps has got a lot of focus from the executives in Carlsberg is because FinOps is closely tied with IIT 9 Grid. So in Carlsberg, we have this 5-year strategy. We call it an Accelerate Sales strategy, and under which we have each year this 9 Grid. And for the year 2025, we've got 2 very important grids where we are supporting the most. So we have funding the digital journey and simplified technology landscape. In funding the digital journey, as the name says, we are making sure that we are reinvesting the money in the new investments. We are optimizing the overall cloud spends. We are making sure that we are, avoiding all the duplicate and controlling the underutilized technologies and creating more value and opportunities for the business.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world joining us. This is the November FinOps Foundation Summit. My name is J.R. Stormont, and I'm glad you're here. So quick couple reminders as people are streaming in. Please do have your camera on. Use the chat during the conversations. Later, you'll be able to jump into Q&A. Please remember, in the meantime, then, now, and all the way through, no sales pitches, and please share only public information and treat others with respect. So as I mentioned, this is our November summit. The FinOps Foundation has been running these summits since 2019, and I was just reflecting with our team right before the call started that the FinOps Foundation staff, which is just under 30 people now, is actually more people than the first summit had. The first summit was just about 25 folks, and now they're getting a little bit bigger, as you can see. So this summit is all about optimizing for value. I wanted to welcome all of you who are first-timers to this event. J.R. Stormont, Executive Director of the FinOps Foundation, myself and my staff all work for the Linux Foundation, and we're here to help you on your career journeys. Our mission is to advance the people, specifically you, who do the work of managing the value of cloud. Now, increasingly, many of you, as we're going to talk about, are doing this FinOps work beyond cloud. Increasingly, you're doing it in other types of technology, but our mission remains the same, which is advancing the people who are managing value. And we do this through community and connections, this type of event. We do it through education, certification, we're going to hear later, and we do it through best practices and standards that are open source that you all contribute to and grow as the community grows. So in the next 60 minutes, we are going to be focused on covering a lot of content. At the end, we'll have some time for Q&A and conversation and back and forth, but we're going to be touching across a lot of areas with a lot of great speakers. They're going to be moving fast. We're going to keep everybody hopefully on time, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. If you only do one thing with or for the FinOps Foundation this year, please do this. Take the State of FinOps survey, which drives a lot of the best practices each year that the global community uses. It helps us shape the future of FinOps. It helps us understand where the trends are. It helps us understand what best practices and materials to put out. It helps all of you drive better information into your organizations to build your practices. So please go take this survey. It's the most important thing you can do to contribute to the global FinOps community this year. The one thing. Thank you. The FinOps Foundation Governing Board is made up of a lot of people who come from practitioner companies, they come from clouds, they come from GSIs, they come from platforms, they come from hardware providers. They all met last month. Is it last month? Yeah, it's already in November. We met last October, a month ago, in DC to talk about our 2026 plans. What the FinOps Foundation is going to do and build in the community, how we're going to support the mission, how we might even change the mission as how things are going, and how we're going to adjust our programs. I wanted to share with you 3 takeaways that I had from that meeting to kind of set the tone of what we're seeing today in the world of FinOps. These were the 3 things I heard in the room from practitioners and vendors from their customers. First of all, FinOps practices today have a broad scope. FinOps started in public cloud. It's our roots. It's what most of us still focus on at the core of our practices. But for most mature practices, it's extended to other types of infrastructure, sometimes SaaS, sometimes AI, sometimes private cloud, on-prem, other platforms. The second thing is FinOps started very reactive and it started very cost-focused. It's moved into proactive and early. Mature FinOps practices today have shifted left, not just into architecture, but into business case designs, into the conversations about what to build, where, and why. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. The third thing that I heard at the governing board meeting was that the FinOps practice has become exec aligned. It's integrated into C-level planning to drive value and decision support for strategic multi-year investments. Doesn't mean the FinOps practice does the actual decisions on that. It means it drives critical data up and receives strategy down from executives to help implement the practice. This is a pretty big change from those of us who were in FinOps land 2, 3, 5, or 10 years ago. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the coming year. One of the best places where you can come together to share your stories and hear from others is FinOps X in San Diego. This is, I was going to say it's my favorite time of year. It's my busiest time of year and the staff's busiest time of year. And for many of you in the community, it's the one place you can come each year where everybody speaks FinOps. Everybody knows what you do. Everybody's aligned on the value of what we're bringing and building, and you can learn a lot. I'm not going to play this video. I hope some of you have seen it, but go check out on YouTube or on the x.finops.org website the video recap of 2025. You might see yourself in there if you've been there before. A lot of great moments in that recap. Our good friend and community director for North America, Joe Daly, is starting a new series of we call it the Know Before You Go, the Guide to FinOps X, things you need to know to help you build your business case. If you're thinking about going, need to convince your boss, and also just get your questions answered about what it takes to get there and what kind of things are going to be covered. So check out these if you want to learn more about the conference. And we want to hear from you. The conference is about what you are doing today in your practices. Our conference is not about where things might go. It's not about where things should go. It's about what's really happening in the space right now. So we want to hear what the latest and greatest is in your practice today. For breakout sessions, we now actually also enable you to propose Chalk Talks, which are interactive sessions, and a new content type this year, Lightning Talks. These are wide open. Doesn't matter what your role or criteria or company or anything is. These talks are open to all to submit on any topic and will be chosen by a set of ambassadors in the community based on the merit of those talks. So please consider contributing a talk and checking out the details there. If anybody's going to reInvent in a couple weeks, please consider coming by and saying hi. We've got a keynote watch party happening. Great place to get breakfast and coffee and watch the keynotes with your FinOps peers and talk about the changes happening from that particular cloud provider in FinOps land. And then we've also got sessions at a lunch happening in a FinOps Foundation space. If you've been to our events in previous years at reInvent, it's the same day, same time, same space. We're not doing an evening event this year. There's too many evening events, but we've got morning and breakfast and lunch there. So please come see us at reInvent. If you're going to Ignite, there's a bunch of things happening there as well. A lot of our member organizations are hosting events. Some of these are Ignite events, some at reInvent. Please consider saying hi to these organizations and anybody from our team who's going to be there as well. So with that, wanted to talk about the second part of the FinOps Foundation ecosystem after community, which is education, and pass to Natalie Bergman, who is a senior instructional designer on our team and builds a lot of the new training that's coming out. Natalie, over to you.
Hey everyone, thanks JR. It's awesome to be back. I was here in September. That's when we introduced level 1 of the FinOps for AI series. The focus then was on building visibility and accountability, helping teams understand where AI costs live and how to manage them without slowing innovation. Today, I'm excited to share that level 2 is here. This level is designed to connect that visibility to strategy through supporting planning and estimating, forecasting, budgeting, and governance so that AI investments stay aligned with business goals. And remember, you're going to continue to earn all of these badges as you progress through the series, leading up to that final FinOps for AI certification. Let's dive a little deeper into what's in level 2. As I mentioned, this is all about moving from visibility to strategy. It's about helping teams move beyond tracking costs to guiding how AI investments are planned, funded, and scaled responsibly. Because FinOps isn't on the sidelines of AI, it's part of the design. It's how innovation becomes sustainable, transparent, and accountable. In level 2, you're going to learn how to bring FinOps practices into those early stages of AI planning, helping teams build their forecasts, align budgets with strategy, and make informed choices about where to invest. You're also going to see how governance ties it all together, giving organizations the structure they need to balance experimentation with control. And as you complete level 2, you'll learn how to evolve your own FinOps practice, updating tools, assessments, and workflows to keep pace with AI's rapid change. Earning your level 2 badge shows that you're leading by example, helping shape what strategic FinOps looks like in the era of FinOps, in the era of AI. So if you've already started the FinOps for AI series, level 2 is ready for you now to build directly on that foundation from level 1. If you haven't joined yet, this is the perfect time to start, especially because we are offering a 20% off flash sale for the next 24 hours to celebrate the level 2 launch. With this discount, you can enroll today, work to complete level 1 and level 2 before the end of the year, and you'll be ready to step into level 3 when it launches in January. Or for a deeper discount, you can add on the FinOps for AI series at a 50% discount with the purchase of a ticket to our annual conference, FinOps X. This is the perfect way to extend your learning journey, immersing yourself in the FinOps community, and engaging in conversations shaping the future of FinOps for AI. So now is the time to get started, to be at the forefront of how FinOps enables AI innovation, turning visibility into strategy. The next thing I'm going to talk about real quick is our new FinOps education series. We have created this webinar series to help you connect learning long after certification with short 30-minute sessions focused on designing, turning your knowledge into real-world impact. These 30-minute sessions explore practical ways to apply FinOps concepts and stay current as the discipline evolves. Every month, we're highlighting a new theme, from building a culture of learning to making FinOps education part of an everyday practice, all aimed at helping you and your teams grow together. Next week's webinar is building a culture of FinOps learning. We're going to share how teams are using gamification, recognition, and team-based learning challenges to spark engagement and bring FinOps to life across their organizations. We're really excited to see how this series helps you strengthen your FinOps practice and turn learning into action that then drives real impact. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Jonathan.
Thanks, Natalie. Howdy, folks. My name is Jonathan Morley, and I'm the education principal at the foundation. I want to take a moment and highlight the success within our mentorship program. Each mentee commits to a 6-month rotation with a proven FinOps leader to build expertise through guided support. This year, the mentorship program has exploded in growth, and right now, we have more than 140 community members actively participating from over 20 unique countries. Wherever you are on your personal FinOps journey, you'll find value learning with others. JR opened with, if you only do one thing, take the State of FinOps survey. Well, if you want to do 2 things, scan the QR code on your screen or head to learn.finops.org and click FinOps Mentorship Program. We'd love to have you join these conversations and find a perfect pairing. I'll hand back the virtual mic, and we look forward to seeing your application soon.
Thank you, Natalie and Jonathan for stealing my my talk track there. Yeah, this is definitely a great way to give back. If you're in the community and are advanced and want to learn more or want to help others, it's also a great way, if you're not yet advanced in FinOps and want to learn from somebody who is further advanced, to do so. So on that topic, we want to find out a little bit from the mix of this room who is attending, kind of where you are in your FinOps journey. So I'm going to start a poll here on the screen. Oh, somebody started it for me, even better. It should be popping up if you open up your Zoom window. We're just wondering, where do you sit within your own practice at your organization? Are you just getting started learning about FinOps? Are you in the early stages? Are you actively practicing with some advanced and established capabilities? Or are you pretty mature and have broad FinOps adoption across teams and organizations? Oh, wow, these are streaming in. Okay, so we've got about 700 of you responded so far. Oh, it's going fast. 800 of you have responded. Oh, this is kind of not what I expected, but maybe, I don't know. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to give you a few more minutes to answer, a few more seconds, we'll say. We've got 900 of you have responded so far. Wow, this is really fun to watch. Okay, I'm going to wait till we hit 1,000 and then we'll pause the poll. So here's your chance. Last 10, 9, 8, 7. Oh, it's so close, almost 1,000. All right, we're going to run out of time. So I'm going to pause there. We're going to cap it right at 900. And I'm going to wait 2 more seconds. Hold on, here we go. 15 more people. Come on, you can do this. Let's get to 1,000. I feel like I'm on a telethon here. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm ending the poll. All right, 1,000 of you responded in that short window. That's amazing. Here are the results. So not a big surprise, a wide swath of different maturities on this call. But I think this is actually great. The biggest group of you have an active FinOps practice with some established capabilities. You're never really done building your practice. You can become mature, you can have broad adoption, but there's always more to do. So it's great to hear that over 40% of you were in that group. And there's a lot of people who need to learn, and there's a small set of really mature folks. So go become a mentor if you're very mature, contribute to best practices, and others learn from these people. So with that, want to talk about the topic, which is optimizing for value, and pass to Vas Markanastasakis, who is a FinOps fellow and has been part of the foundation since day one. Vas, over to you.
Thanks, JR. That poll was a lot of fun. So thanks for making me laugh. Hey, everybody. I'm happy to be here with you. As JR mentioned, my name is Vasilio Markanastasakis, but you can call me Vas. Some of the things I do here at the foundation include working on the FinOps framework. And I guess jumping right in, what does optimizing for value mean? And if I'm being honest, optimizing for value to me is really about that triple espresso I had this morning, just to get my day started. But terrible jokes aside, if I call back to the early slide that JR showed about what are the characteristics of a mature FinOps practice, I think optimizing for value really is what happens when FinOps graduates from counting pennies to counting business impact. Optimizing for value is not just about saving money. And I think a lot of times people, when they hear those words, optimizing for value, they default to thinking about optimizing the technology stack. And I like zooming out a little bit, and we often use the iron triangle as a way to present concepts at the FinOps Foundation. And I think the iron triangle is a great way to think about optimizing for value, because optimizing for value is really about driving business outcomes. How do you balance optimizing trade-offs to drive value? And if JR, if you can go to the next slide here, optimizing for value, sure, there is a savings component to it. Everybody likes to save, but optimizing for value might mean innovation and speed. And as FinOps practitioners, putting the scaffolding in place for reporting and visibility so that you can move fast. And maybe it's a moment where you're pausing the initiatives around savings in order to drive innovation. It's also about executive alignment. And I think as a mature FinOps practice, we all start realizing, and at least from the conversations I'm having with our ambassadors and some of our most mature practitioners in the community, it's about enabling executive strategic priorities and getting executive alignment with what's important to the business. We like to say FinOps is really about people, process, and technology. So optimizing for value, the goal, I think, in your practices should really about optimizing only works through a fully integrated FinOps practice that factors in organizational strategy. And we have some great presentations coming up. I sat through some practice and dry runs, some really amazing information. But before we jump into the presentations, I really want to revisit this topic about executive alignment and strategy. And if I can invite JR to jump back in here and maybe speak a little bit about the conversations you've been having. I know we've been traveling a little bit. You know, we were in Amsterdam, we're in Washington, D.C., and I know you've had some great conversations with our governing board around what advanced enterprise practitioners are doing to adopt this strategic alignment pattern.
Yeah, thanks, Vas. We have been having a lot of conversations this last, I would say, 3 or 4 months, particularly since last FinOps X, with leaders doing FinOps kind of around the world and what it looks like in a mature practice. I want to start with a slide that was actually at FinOps X this year, which it just sums up how things have evolved, particularly in 2024 into 2025. This was presented by Disney at FinOps X in 2025. It's a typical journey, right? So FinOps starts in cloud. It almost always starts in cloud. It's rooted in cloud. The business typically then says, hey, I really like what you've done there. I've got better visibility, optimization, anomaly detection, allocation, traceability. Can you do it in SaaS? And so SaaS is added, and SaaS can be huge. Licensing gets added. Typically then companies, big companies in particular, start to say, can we do better in on-prem? Yeah, we've got capacity planning, but we're not doing it frequently. We're not reallocating. We're not getting ahead of optimizing. We don't have good allocation, it's sunk cost. So they start to apply shared FinOps principles across all the stack of their infrastructure to get to a holistic application view. Now, the critical thing that enables you to do, I talked about shifting left earlier, is, and this is also from one of the presentations at FinOps X, is it starts to let you bring FinOps earlier into the application investment process. So FinOps is not triggered after you launch something. The FinOps team comes in when you're thinking about what to build and helps provide data and guidance around non-functional requirements for cost, considerations for the cost of scale, time to market, the value considerations. And here's the really critical point. Not just so you can architect better in one cloud, but so that you might choose which cloud it's going to go into. Or if you've got a fully mature practice that goes across multiple types of infrastructure, this conversation might be about what goes into cloud versus on-prem versus SaaS versus licensed software. This can help the organization actually prioritize the overall application roadmap for better outcomes, for rationalization, but also we're seeing a big integration of FinOps supporting strategic investment planning and the hitting or attainment of commitments that are being made to big technology partners. So one of the things we learned this summer, I've personally been doing probably about 45 or 50 interviews with technology leaders from Fortune 100 and 250 companies, is that there is a new converged technology leader that has emerged. This role, we're calling it the FinOps exec, sits across a converged portfolio of technology spend that includes almost always cloud, plus some amount of data center, if it's there, SaaS, and other major technology platforms, including AI, data clouds, and related areas. This role, which FinOps tends to roll into, is a VP, SVP, or EVP, what we call a C-1. They report directly into the group CIO, into the group CTO, sometimes the CFO. I've got a couple outlier examples, but it's uncommon, but there's always a dotted line to the finance side. They're part of a central technology team, and they're usually a level or two above FinOps. The FinOps practice is part of that. They report up to that. This role, and part of the expanding of how we're seeing companies apply FinOps, is helping these people on their own career path toward becoming CIOs or CTOs. In fact, I think what we're seeing is a lot of these folks are heading toward a new role that is a C-level role, which is a CIO, yes, in some cases, but an IT COO or a tech operations COO. One of the companies we interviewed, a Fortune 20, even had a chief infrastructure officer that was at the top of this stack. So this may not be the same for smaller companies or less mature companies or a mid-market company, but this is what we're seeing in the Fortune 100 and 250 with dozens and dozens and dozens of examples this year. So this role, and one of the public examples I can share was Nishant from Salesforce, EVP of Engineering, spoke at our conference. He talked about his FinOps practice, how it's feeding data from executive strategy down, filtering that down through strategic technology partnership conversations, down through product decisions, and all the way down to architectural decisions. The FinOps practice historically has operated at that bottom tier: architecture, efficiency, right sizing, workload placement, commitment-based. It's increasingly helped drive data up to make decisions about how products need to change, or what products to launch, or how we need to balance spend between clouds or between entirely different parts of our infrastructure stack. This is the modern world of the FinOps executive that we have entered for the biggest and most advanced companies in the world. The placement of this varies by organization. This one was shared this summer at one of our events by a large bank who broke down that the FinOps team sits under a CTO within the group's CIO organization across 16 16 business unit CIOs. Often they're supporting all these different business units. The central team is focused on budget and metric alignment, aligning with the CFO and COO, whereas the business unit FinOps teams are focused on risk and value, often partnering closely with their ITAM, SAM partners and ITFM when it exists in the organization. So another takeaway we got from the interviews is that there's some real best practices, or one might say, habits that are developing of the FinOps enabled executive practice. The first one is it is focused on business value conversations. It's not about cost anymore. It's about time to value, innovation, how to manage all the explosion of AI spend, for example. The second one is there's a clear organizational structure. It's almost always sitting at an SVP, EVP level and rolling into a group CIO or CTO. It's become proactive. And to the third point, it's integrated into these global business reviews that are happening. It's part of the business conversations, not just the technology conversation. The fourth point is it's become highly cross-functional. FinOps is an enabling cultural discipline across lots of different things. So the FinOps teams are now engaging closely with finance and sourcing, with vendor management. They're owning marketplace commitments across cloud providers and making sure that proactive vendor negotiations are happening earlier. So we are avoiding, in a software world, a true-up culture where we're only looking at renewals near the fact rather than throughout the process. These are FinOps principles from cloud being applied to other parts of the business. And that expansion has accelerated dramatically in the last 18 months. So I want to ask all of you with another poll, what are the drivers for you in your own practice which are driving your optimization decisions? What does value look like for you in your practice? Are you driving it based on executive priorities? Are you driving it to simply align to business outcomes? Which may be tied. There's a little bit of overlap of those two, so you can select both if you want. Are you doing it to accelerate delivery or innovation, maybe on your AI initiatives? Are you doing it to improve performance? Are you optimizing for performance, optimizing for reliability? Or are you simply just optimizing to reduce overall costs, which is a very common thing, as we know. It's the base of where FinOps started. I may not be able to let this one go to 1,000 people since we're running a little longer, so I'm going to let it go a little more, but we're at 600 already, coming up fast on 700. Going to give you like 8-9 seconds to get your answers in because we love this data and we want to hear from you. But time is short. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause the poll because although more coming in, the ratios are similar. So here's what we've got. Yeah, shocker. A lot of you are still trying to reduce costs. That's a critical part of not just FinOps, but any business function to improve margins. But a lot of you, in fact, the second choice, are aligning to executive priorities. That's really good to see. It's almost like we set that up. It's like we got 880 people to consider that ahead of time. A lot of you are aligning to business outcomes, accelerating innovation or delivery. I think that's ideal. And also considering performance or reliability, 26% of you. So that is great lead in to our next talk. We at the foundation are building now executive programs for those SVP, EVP candidates. I say candidates because like you, a lot of them are also trying to advance their careers. But they are coming together now in small forums within the foundation to talk about the challenges they face. So if you want to consider nominating your boss or bringing in a peer, if you're at that level, or considering yourself for it, please go to finops.org/exec and submit a candidate for that program, which is driving the next phase of where FinOps is going. We heard in Amsterdam from Sonal Gupta, who is Senior Manager FinOps at Carlsberg, about her optimization practice and how it aligns to executive priorities. So Sonal, wanted to bring you back for those of you who weren't able to go to Amsterdam to hear a bit of your story because we really enjoyed it. Over to you, Sonal.
Thank you very much, JR. And hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening from myself. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about data platforms in Carlsberg. My name is Sonal. I work in Carlsberg as a senior manager for FinOps and cloud hosting services. I have worked in all the tech giants, mostly Delphi, Credit Suisse, Bank of America, Accenture, Cognizant. And before I was promoted to lead FinOps, I was the regional manager taking care or managing the hosting services of cloud in Western Europe. I'm a very passionate person on FinOps, so I've been involved in many speaking engagements in the past, some of which are Gartner, SAMS Nordics. I'm also an active speaker in the Empowering Women in Technology Forum. Next slide. So Carlsberg don't need any introduction. We are fastest brewing or the largest brewing company in the world. We were founded in 1847. We have a very rich heritage of about 170 years with 140 brands. Our core or premium beers are Carlsberg, Blanc, Borg, and then we are also doing a lot of alcohol-free brews, ciders, and soft drinks. And we have about more than 10,000 employees as of now. Next page. So FinOps structure in Carlsberg, this is where we sit at the moment. We sit under CIO organization. We report directly to the CTO organization. ITAM sits in a different organization, but we all report to CIO. And I work alongside Cloud Center of Excellence, network organization, and hosting organization. And FinOps is supporting across Carlsberg IIT at the moment. Next slide. So why FinOps is important, why FinOps has got a lot of focus from the executives in Carlsberg is because FinOps is closely ties with IIT 9 grid. So in Carlsberg, we have this 5-year strategy. We call it an accelerate sales strategy, and under which we have each year this 9 grid. And for the year 2025, we've got 2 very important grids where we are supporting the most. So we have funding the digital journey and simplify technology landscape. In funding the digital journey, as the name says, we are making sure that we are reinvesting the money in the new investments. We are optimizing the overall cloud spends. We are making sure that we are, avoiding all the duplicate and controlling the underutilized technologies and creating more value and opportunities for the business. And similarly, in the simplified technology landscape, we are closely partnering with enterprise architecture to standardize different EA templates, to do application rationalization, and also supporting in their roadmap by having a space in the TDA forum. So next page. At the moment, we have, this is how we are interacting with the executives. We have been providing a lot of data and reporting, and that's what our main focus is at the moment. So provide a lot of visibility and transparency to the leaders by just highlighting the trends, anomalies, and so on. So this is one of the area where we are continuing to pay more focus. And then we have this FCQ where we are driving this quarterly steerco meetings with the top management to provide transparency, to provide the executive summary to them so that we can show that how we are aligned with the business goals and values. And then IIT Executive Forum. So we are, providing regular sessions in the IIT town halls so that, we are sync with the other stakeholders as well, and to create this kind of awareness of what we are doing in the FinOps world with a lot of different initiatives that we are taking. So next slide. In Carlsberg, we are using a lot of data platforms. I'm not going to go each one of those, but I will be doing a deep dive on Microsoft Fabric because this is where we have done a lot of optimization work. But we are using Databricks, also Synapse Analytics, Cosmos DB, Data Lake, SQL Managed Instance. So These data platforms are being used currently to do a lot of data analysis stuff, data engineering, data warehousing, data modeling. So our data and AI team are totally focused on utilizing these data platforms. But now, as our next strategy, we are sort of consolidating everything into a unified data platform that is Microsoft Fabric. As you all might be aware, Fabric is a unified data platform that connects your data from different data sources to provide a single source of truth. So that is our main strategy going forward in order to create this single source of truth for the business. So next slide. Now, in Carlsberg, we have been doing some optimization already in the past by just doing reservation, getting benefits from the RI coverage. So we did our first reservation on Azure Synapse, and we achieved 45% of the discount from pay-as-you-go cost. And then we also did reservation on Databricks, SQL Managed Instance, and now Fabric. And we are making sure that we reduce the wastage. We are more optimized as we go forward. So the next page. So just to build a story here, this year, somewhere around April, we saw this cost spike in our Fabric environment, and this is how FinOps got involved in the conversations. So everything was going smooth. As I mentioned, we were getting discounts and good offers from the reservations. But now, in the month of April, we saw this huge spike because somebody might have just deployed something without considering the impact. We were simply unaware, and business was unaware. So they highlighted this issue to us. We were obviously monitoring the cost of that, and as soon as we observed this cost spike, we made a plan we set together that I'm going to discuss in the next slide. So please go to the next slide here. So then we sat together, we kind of discussed different rationale of why we saw this cost spike all of a sudden. And if you go to the next slide here. So in March 2024, as you may recall, Microsoft announced the retirement of the Power BI, premium Power BI capacity, that's PSKUs, in favor of Microsoft Fabric capacity. So they were deprecating their Power BI premium licenses, and they were offering this new Fabric capacities to their enterprise customers. So that was one of the reasons that we thought why we saw this cost spike. And then all the EA customers of Microsoft, they were recommended to move from licenses model to consumption pricing model, because that's how Fabric works. It works completely different than your Power BI consumption model. So some of the consequences that we observed were the capacity pricing. So you pay for per virtual core per hour can be higher than your user licensing. That's what we saw. Then your larger data refresh consuming more compute now. So as you grow in Fabric, you use a lot of data, like your storage is much more larger, your compute is larger, and hence you consume more, and hence you pay more. For FSKUs, that's Fabric SKUs, it's billed per virtual core per hour. So whether they are not utilized or utilized, you have to pay per hour for your capacities. And then rapid growth in Delta files with snapshot history. So there were a lot of legacy data. There were a lot of, trapped data we were kind of using in Fabric without knowing the consequences or repercussion of that. So we sort of identified all these areas of the cost spike, and then we made a plan after that. So in the next slide, please. So then we organize ourselves in famous FinOps phases, which is inform, operate, and optimize and operate. And then in inform phase, we created a single source of truth for Fabric spend. We built this visibility. We established a Fabric optimization workstream. We brought together Cloud Center of Excellence folks. We brought together Microsoft, different Carlsberg stakeholders, service owner, and the data team, of course. We created this work stream. And then we set up weekly checkpoint calls. We share data. We shared a lot of different cost drivers, usage patterns, and we drive a lot of cost visibility. And we also purchased a couple of more reservations. And then we were continuously monitoring that via Fabric Metrics app that we installed at that time. So in the operate phase, what we did basically was, apart from all this visibility that we created, JR, next slide. So in the optimized phase, we executed the additional reservation purchases so we can lock the lower rates. We also migrated the workspaces to the right size capacities. We right sized the capacities to the lower SKUs from F64 to F16 to F8 to bring down the cost. We also worked on cleanup of the workspaces that have not been used. So a lot of ideal stuff were there that we cleaned it up. And we also made sure that by doing that, we reduced the storage size as well, so we pay less. And then in the operate phase, we are embedding the FinOps into day-to-day operations. We are trying to reduce cost per unit. We are also monitoring the consumption via Metrics app. And we are also continuously tracking the cost trend to create more awareness around our Fabric spend. So this is how we sort of, organize ourselves into 3 FinOps phases in order to control Fabric costs. And this is what you can see here, the impact of our work. Since May, we started seeing the cost going down. It's almost 30% cost that we controlled, we brought down, and you can see it's now on the decreasing side as we move further in this year. So next slide. Now I'm going to talk about how it is different with the FinOps that we do in other environment, other technologies. So I would say that it's basically the same principles, but the levers are different. And why it is different? Because Fabric it works on the capacity level as your other cloud services. It works on the compute level, so you focus on the compute more than the capacity. So multi-cloud FinOps, it covers IaaS, PaaS, basically everything. But this Fabric is basically only on the Fabric. It's like an umbrella where you have all your different data components, data engineering, data science, Power BI. So it is basically running under one Fabric umbrella. Optimization actions, so you do right sizing VMs, you do a lot of snoozing things, you auto scale, you purchase RIs and savings plan. You also work on the storage lifecycle policies in the multi-cloud FinOps, but in Fabric, you, like I said, you basically focus on the capacity. You try to, right size your F capacity from certain size to certain size. You optimize the queries, you optimize your data set models, and so on in order to bring down your cost. Then in multi-cloud FinOps, your RIs are bound to a specific compute share, whereas in Fabric, it works on the capacity level, like I said. So in typical IaaS PaaS setup, it's rather infrastructure tuning than the capacity tuning. So basically, that's what we experience the difference between the traditional FinOps versus the FinOps that you do in Fabric. Now, as the next steps, we obviously continue to monitor the utilization. We are looking for more opportunities to further optimize our environment. We are adjusting the reservation as and when needed. We are also trying to buy more and work with data stakeholders more to get more understanding around that, if there is a need to purchase more reservations. Then we have implemented automation on the cleanups processes for idle workspaces or idle capacities. And also we are expanding optimization to additional workspaces and capacities. So there are a lot of focus going on currently in the Carlsberg data organization. And like I said, we are focusing more on Fabric. So this will hopefully continue.
Amazing. Sonal, thank you so much for bringing this back. For those of you who want to see the whole talk, or the entire talk that Sonal did, please check out the FinOps Foundation YouTube, where you can see that entire session. Quick update, actually going to pass back to Vas to talk about some of the community assets that are new on the website.
Yeah, thanks, Yar. I want to highlight here just really the power of the community. We've got a couple of new FinOps papers, one from Sudama Prasad around scaling Kubernetes for AI workloads to optimize value. And no surprise, another one around optimizing value from Samar and Dave around Azure Managed Disks. Please check these out on our website. You can find them on our assets page if one of the staff wouldn't mind just posting a link to the assets page. And if you're keen to contribute, just reach out to us at hello@finops.org. And if I could just ask one of the staff to post a link to the contributions guidelines, that would be super helpful too. I'll pass it back to you, JR.
So the foundation is all about community contribution. So if you want to get involved, if you're one of those people who's further on in the journey and want to contribute, please consider contributing content, joining a working group, or be a mentor, as we talked about earlier, and help out your friends in the community. So the foundation is supported by a long list of premier members. There's almost 200 corporate members and about 50 premier members of the foundation that make up clouds, GSIs, enterprises, hardware, data center, SaaS, PaaS, a whole mix of folks. One of the things that we are looking to get better at is to help match you up when it's appropriate to tooling or services that works for you. Now, some people build, some people buy. We don't have an opinion on what's the right path. That's for you to decide with your organization. But there are a lot of options out there. So consider looking at the landscape to see where you might fill in gaps. And we wanted to ask the community, because we get a lot of questions about how we can be better about showing these things. There's so many great vendors out there. We also try and focus on best practices. We're going to run another quick poll. How do you want to see us showcase vendors in the community via our organization? We don't want to overwhelm you with too many, but we also know that tooling is a critical part of many of your practices. So give us some feedback here. We're going to just let this one go real quick because we're looking in 2026 at how we can get better about highlighting appropriate vendors for the needs that you as a practitioner might need. Awesome. We're almost to 500. I think we've got a clear thing. I'm going to speed ahead and not share this one for now, just so we can move on time, because I want to make sure we get to some of these upcoming presentations. But thank you for that detail. It sounds like lightning talks is one of the most interesting things you're looking at. On that topic, we want to take some time to get to know one of our newer members, which is Vantage, and hear from their co-founder and CTO, Brooke, who was at our governing board meeting in DC a couple weeks ago, and Rem, who's in product there. Brooke and Rem, over to you.
Thanks, JR. Really appreciate it. Really here to talk about a very hot topic, agents, and how you can apply that specifically, as JR was mentioning a little bit earlier, of how you can be more proactive in your FinOps practice by utilizing agents. So if we go to the next slide, here at Vantage, we are a FinOps platform for modern engineering teams. We help people monitor their cloud costs such as AWS, Azure, GCP, along with a lot of other infrastructure services, including 20 other native integrations, as well as some forays into monitoring on-prem. And we provide a lot of observability into your cloud costs through various tools. Previously, that's been things like Kubernetes agents, Terraform providers, RESTful APIs. More recently, that's been introing ourselves into things like the MCP protocol, and as we'll talk about a little bit here, AI agents. If we go to the next slide, for how we've actually thought about incorporating AI into our products, we've really brought it up from three different aspects. That's making FinOps accessible to multiple personas, offloading ad hoc and manual processes, and then enabling capabilities that were previously not possible. And it actually very much aligns with a lot of the foundations of the FinOps Foundation, the people, process, and technology, to actually help us align with that.
Yeah, thanks, Rem. So I'm going to walk through some of the different acronyms and just give some definitions behind them, since we're going to throw them around a bunch, and just define what an MCP is, what an agent is, but also how that ties to the FinOps practice directly. We're not doing AI just for the sake of AI. And so if you go to the next slide, I'm sure everyone is very familiar with this feedback loop in your FinOps practice. This one specifically is focused on if you have something like a financial commitment to purchase or Microsoft Fabric reservation to purchase, for instance, or maybe there's unused storage that you want to be deleted. And so your FinOps platform or your internal tooling is surfacing that information. Maybe that's through automated anomalies or manually created reports. But then you have to then dig in, do some more data filtering, aggregation, see where the actual problem is coming from. And then as the FinOps analyst, you're usually creating tickets or assigning work outside of your group to the engineering team who is actually responsible. And that can even take some effort to say who owns this system, which is the right team to assign this to. And then they investigate and then they implement and push the change. This feedback loop can be hours, days, months, or even years if you're talking about a large re-architecture. And so when we were asked for a presentation topic on optimizing for value, this feedback loop came to mind for me because the tighter you can make this loop and the faster you can react and get all the way to the implement and push change, the more value you're going to drive. And so everyone's top poll response was how you can save money, and how you can usually save money is just by acting on things as quickly as possible. So if you go to the next slide, I'll get back into the definition. So MCP, this started to become hot about a year ago, and it is we released our own, and it is proving to be very, very valuable for our customers. And so what an MCP is, it's a way to sit in between a data set, and that data set is usually available via an API in what I've seen like 99% of cases when working with MCPs. And then an LLM. And an LLM, if you're not familiar, is when you're using ChatGPT or Claude. It's the model that backs those chat-based interfaces. And what those providers have enabled is those LLMs can now integrate with MCPs. And so in our graphic here, we have GitHub, for example. And so you can interact with the GitHub MCP and open a GitHub issue or assign an issue or just query for code in a code base or list your repositories. Another example would be the Notion MCP, where you could grab all of the information that lives in those documents inside Notion or even create them on the fly. And the Vantage MCP in the middle there, that's where you could query your cost data, your budgets, your forecasts, your performance against those budgets. And the LLM is able to query multiple at once and then combine all that context into a single chat interface. So if you go to the next slide, we lost the slide, but that's okay. Oh no, sorry, they're just rearranged a little bit. That's okay. And so what this enables is something like this, where you all the way on the left there are interacting with the LLMs. And again, those are like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini from Google. You then have access to all of this information that's stored in the tools that you already have access to, but you're just giving that access to the LLM. And so, like I said, in Vantage, it's being able to query your cost information, your FinOps data sets, anything going on the platform. We've also seen a lot of benefit from hooking our entire documentation suite into that as well. And so we can also guide folks to best practices, how to create Terraform snippets to control things in Vantage, or even just how to use the platform in general. And then you can plug it into Google Drive, GitHub, Jira, AWS, etc. You can go to the next slide. And so what is an agent? An agent builds upon this concept and takes that core concept that is the LLM and then starts to act autonomously based on interacting with decisions that the LLM is making. And so an example would be you could have a chat interface with ChatGPT and say, hey, can you list my top 10 EC2 instances that need to be right-sized this month and open Jira tickets for those corresponding teams. And so the LLM would automatically decide, I'm going to query Vantage for the right sizing recommendations. I'm then going to query GitHub or Backstage for who owns those resources. And then I'm going to automatically open the Jira tickets and the corresponding projects to those resources. So that's an example where the agent made a multi-step tree of decisions to say, I'm going to get the data first from Vantage. I'm going to see who owns that. And then I'm going to open the Jira tickets. You can go to the next slide. So what does this look like in a full context when you think you have all of the relevant tools, all of the tools that are relevant to FinOps, right? You have metrics in Datadog, you have information stored in Google Drive, you have tickets in Linear and Jira. You can pull information directly from the cloud providers as well. AWS is working on an MCP, and that's proving very promising. And so if you imagine a FinOps agent sitting in the middle of that loop, able to tighten that feedback loop by making what were previously all of those manual decisions or manual data lookups to understand where things should be routed or what should happen next. That's what we're envisioning here with this agentic FinOps workflow. And Rem is going to walk you through some more concrete examples. Oh, no, I'm actually, if you go to the next slide, sorry. So when you have it, whether you're building your own FinOps tooling or you're using a provider, there is what we call the Maslow's hierarchy of needs for AI and FinOps. And it starts with the normalized and allocated data, which I'm sure everyone on the call is familiar with. But then you have the layers above that are required in order to then unlock that agentic workflow. And so if you go to the next slide, I won't spend too much time here, but everyone's familiar with the normalized and allocated data, right? You need the data in a standardized format. You need it to be able to be queried in that format. You want it to be allocated and tagged appropriately so it fits your chargeback and showback models so that the data can be associated with a team or a product. If you go to the next slide. Then you need access to that information programmatically. And this is a big one. Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Take another minute
sorry.
to finish off. No worries.
The Zoom was yelling at me. So something we've invested a lot in at Vantage is just programmatic access to these API, that data. So being able to access it via an API and also create resources via the API. If you go to the next slide. And then again, you layer the MCP on top of that. So the MCP is sitting in between those APIs and your LLM interfaces. You can go ahead. And then Rem is going to walk through some real world examples here.
And Rem, we do need to wrap up. So if you could do a quick takeaways on this, that'd be great.
No worries. We can flip two ahead. I'll just quickly talk on the problems that we were looking to solve when actually implementing agentic workflows here. First is actually taking the actions and getting that routed in an autonomous way. Second is actually getting these recommendations routed properly. And then last is automating workflows. Again, Brooke, things that Brooke was mentioning about automating things that are continuously coming up for FinOps practitioners. On the next slide here, we have worked on our agent. This is something that is going to be kind of hitting on all those three things. As Brooke mentioned, this is going to be actually taking different decision trees, attempting to optimize, and it's something that we've had a couple of our users using, is going to be generally available next week. Just to save time, I think we can go forward 2 slides. Just to recap, even if you're not using AI today, think about the data that can be some of your foundation here. And then when actually implementing, think about replicating your existing workflows and where can you actually incorporate that. And then lastly, it's not just about saving money, as people know, it's about also people and process that can help you save as well.
Awesome. Thank you, folks. We're going to rearrange things here slightly. Rem and Brooke, sorry, we ran out of time, but we'll get your recordings up there, and please stick around, folks, to ask them questions toward the end. I am going to do a quick pause here. We're going to actually jump to a little bit about what's happening in the open source world of focus. There we go. I want to take a couple of minutes and hear from Matt Kalsert, Principal Product Manager at Focus here at the FinOps and Linux Foundation, about what's happening there. And then we're going to get into a little more from Aviv at Adaptive 6. Matt, over to you.
Hey, folks. Pleasure to see everybody on the call today. I'll go quickly because we're going to spend a lot of time during the next summit on Focus. Can we go to the next slide, Chair? So we're launching Focus 1.3 on December 11th. Next slide. I want to do a quick shout out for the folks that actually do the work that makes the specification happen on a day in, day out basis. So we have the maintainers, the backbone. They're both contributors and are able to really right the ship on where we're heading with the specification. We have our steering committee who gives us industry insights. And then on the right-hand side, we have our contributors. Special shout out to our brand new contributors, folks that are just coming on board, as well as appreciation for the folks that have been around for multiple release cycles. Next slide. All right, so we are launching split cost allocation. We are launching the ability to track progress against contract commitments. And we're also adding metadata that helps you understand the recency and completeness of your focus data sets. I'm going to touch on these in much more depth during the next announcement, but I don't want to steal the thunder from our announcements. For 1.4, we are actively developing. We just jumped back into the development cycle. We're updating the feature requests as we speak. If there's something that you're passionate about working on, I'm happy to connect with you all after, show you what the list looks like, and then if you want to contribute, we'd love to have you. Next slide. As always, the best way to learn about Focus is to actually operate with Focus on your own data sets, to go through the certification process, the training, which I think is world-class and we're continuing to improve, and then to contribute if you're still interested after going through those activities and you want to actually help shape the future of the spec. We do it for the community, by the community, and with the community. So really appreciate everybody's engagement there.
A huge thank you again to all the contributors. And this last slide, sorry, Matt, is what I wanted to share. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have recently adopted a buddy mentor program. Again, if you look at the spec, like there's a lot of text there. And so if you're looking for a way to make Focus more approachable, we're happy to be able to connect you with a mentor, how the project works, answer any questions you have, find the right places for us to be able to leverage your domain expertise. And as you get into contributing to the spec, you'll see that your expertise will grow, and we'll be able to help promote all the positive work that you're doing. So it's really a progression path, but excited for what we've done with 1.3 as well as where we're headed in the future direction of Focus. Yeah, a lot of exciting things coming. That's what I got.
Thank you to everybody who's contributed, and to Matt and Sean and Joaquin and Mike Fuller, everybody on the staff working on this. It's been an amazing community effort. And last but not least, want to spend some time with Aviv from Adaptive 6, talking about mediating shadow waste. Aviv, over to you. It's like we've got you muted. 1 second. One more time. I actually hit the mute button after you unmuted, so you got to unmute one more time. There you go. Okay.
Now we can hear it.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, JR. So hi, everybody. I'm Aviv. I'm the CEO of Adaptive 6. I'm also a governing board member at the FinOps Foundation. And today we're going to talk about multi-cloud and SaaS and PaaS optimization, and essentially detection and remediation of hidden shadow waste. Next slide. So for those of you, next slide. So for those of you who actually missed the original talk at the FinOps X, I actually encourage you to see it in full length. It's basically a talk I gave with one of our customers, Jeff from Ticketmaster, and he talks all about shadow waste. So you have the link below, and you also have the QR code. So I do encourage you to look at it afterwards. Next slide. So talking about shadow waste, I think we're all familiar with standard waste, right? When we're talking about unused resources, or we're talking about right sizing. What shadow waste is all about are these hidden inefficiencies that typically evade standard practices, standard tools, and so on. Click. And then we try to basically bucket a few of these common shadow waste categories. So one is like complex service misconfigurations. Like if you look at AWS provision mode in DynamoDB versus standard, like which one do you on demand, which one do you use? Hidden service features, right? So the clouds keep on releasing new types of features, and basically folks are aware of some of them, but not all of them. Architectural inefficiencies. This creates a lot of waste and so on. Application layer, right? So we are all used to be thinking about IaaS, infrastructure, and so on, but not necessarily within the workloads. And one last example here is obviously AI and machine learning workloads, which carry a lot of inefficiencies. One thing I would say is that many times this shadow waste is actually harder to detect, but much, much easier to actually fix than standard waste. So for instance, when you think about right sizing and having the back and forth with engineers, in many cases, shadow waste could be a simple configuration you could just change, and it's much easier to actually gain those savings right away. Next slide. So a few concrete examples of shadow waste. Next slide. So the first one being within the application layer, if you're running workloads that are actually running Python before version 3.13, that could actually be up to 20% less efficient than running Python 3.13. Now, this is not because of end of life of Python 3.8. This is because specifically in Python 3.13, they actually made significant changes to the engine that made it far more efficient. So you gain the efficiency and you actually gain those cost savings. So this is one example I truly advise you to be looking for within your organization. Next slide. Yeah, so the next slide right here, we're talking about AI, right? So within AI, most of the cloud providers have what they call provision throughput. So you can actually commit to a certain throughput for your LLM. If you do that, you get a discount. If you don't do that, you're basically losing money. But then there is the problem of how much of a commitment you need to do. So what typically the advice would be to basically monitor on an ongoing basis your LLM and try to find out what's the real throughput that you actually need for your LLM. So in this example on the right, you actually might not need 6 provision throughput units, but actually only 2, and that would lead to immediate cost savings. Next slide. The third example I wanted to give here is all around Databricks. So many times you would see engineers by default using serverless, which could be a good default, but at the end of the day, if you have a long-running workload, it actually might be better to move to a jobs cluster. So this requires further investigation and actually making sure whether it's the right fit. So this is another example of architectural inefficiencies that you might actually see within Databricks. The fourth example, if we move on to the next slide, actually also talks about Databricks. So in this case right here, you should be watching for older versions of Databricks, because older versions of Databricks also result in older versions of Spark. And basically under the hood, it basically uses older versions of the JVM, of the Java Virtual Machine. Now the JVM has made significant progress over the years. So just by switching from 7.3 to 15.4, you could have amazing impact on both cost savings as well as improve the efficiency. You could also move to the latest Databricks, but sometimes it's actually better to do it in a gradual way. And the fifth example, if we move to the next slide, is all around Snowflake, right? So many times we see folks that would basically mirror whatever they have in production into non-production. But that doesn't typically make sense unless you have a very good reason to do so, like UAT environments and so on. But for the most of the lower end environments like Dev and QA, it doesn't make sense. So in this example right here, you might have excessive time travel retention for Snowflake, that in this case, you might be saving that retention period for up to 90 days in non-production. But why would you need that time travel retention to be 90 days in non-production? Maybe you could switch to a day or maybe just 2. So you should be looking out for this type of shadow waste inefficiencies within your Snowflake environments as well. So we basically, if we move to the next slide, these were very concrete shadow waste examples, but then comes the questions of how do you actually remediate at scale, right? So I try to sum up over here 4 key principles that we basically have witnessed working with very large enterprises over the last few years. So if we move to the next slide, the first one being is that it's very, very important to tap into the engineers' daily workflows, right? Like in this example right here, step 1, open up a ticket, whether it's Jira or a change request within ServiceNow. Step 2, open up an automated pull request to really get into the workflow of the engineer. Step 3, the engineer would basically fix it. Basically, by plugging into the engineer's daily workflows, this really makes remediation more streamlined and much, much faster. Next slide. The second principle is to fix issues within the source, right? Whether it's Terraform, you're using CloudFormation, Bicep, Ansible, whatever it is. I typically would see like a lot of tools out there that basically try to get folks to fix stuff on the cloud, but then Terraform runs and it basically overrides your changes. So it's really, really important to actually fix things at the source itself within the Terraform or whatever infrastructure as code you're actually using. Next slide. Yeah, so number 3, like in terms of a principle, is really all around automation. And obviously, especially for the lower environments like dev and QA, non-production and so on, and for low-hanging fruit. So really all around automation, whether it's unused disks, continuously monitoring for those, removing those, and other routine cleanups. This is a simple example. Obviously, you could do it for far more. And this is a key principle because you could then free time for your engineers to either do more features or to focus on other big cost opportunities within production environments. Next slide. The fourth and last principle right here is to shift left, right? Coming from a cybersecurity background, both myself and our leadership, we actually see a lot of similarities between the two spaces. And just like in cybersecurity, you basically prevent vulnerabilities from ever reaching to the cloud and ever reaching production. Same principle applies here, right? So in this example right here, you might be analyzing an app service plan within Azure, and you don't necessarily need to use a premium one versus a basic one in non-production, right? So why would you use a premium one? Maybe in production you need it, and in non-production you actually don't. This is a simple example, but the principle is to actually avoid the problems from the get-go. Next slide. So I would say that all of these examples, whether it's the shadow waste or the ways to remediate at scale, they're all part of what we see as a broader paradigm shift within FinOps. If we move to the next slide, up until recently, basically what we've seen in the FinOps community is that it was all around cloud accounting, all around the finance, budgets, forecasts, showback, chargeback, right? And that basically required certain types of tools to basically do this cloud accounting. And if we click, the problem nowadays actually still remains with the other side, which is the cloud waste. Talking about the state of FinOps, 2 years in a row, number one challenge is actually the waste problem. And if we click once more, the thing is, it hasn't got really resolved up until recently, because this is more of an engineering problem, right? So how do you detect resource misconfigurations? How do you build efficient architecture? How do you fix things within your infrastructure as code? How do you automate remediation? How do you shift left? These are all engineering problems that are you really need to take care of those in order to really solve the waste problem. And this requires a new set of tools within FinOps. If we move to the next slide, that's actually why we actually founded Adaptive 6. So Adaptive 6 offers a cloud cost governance and optimization platform, or a CCGO, and it basically does 4 main things. Number one, it governs everything. So we basically have more than 200 types of waste and shadow waste that we detect across the multi-cloud environment, SaaS, PaaS, and code. Number two, we help large organizations like Ticketmaster, Bayer, the Adecco Group, and others to remediate at scale, whether it's by working with the engineers within their workflows, as we've seen, or by fully automating the remediation. Number three is all around accelerating the fixes with AI, right? Whether it's through remediation scripts people could just use and copy paste one-click fixes, or in the case of Terraform, actually generating those automated pull requests and placing them in the hands of engineers. And number four is all around prevention and shift left and preventing those problems from the get-go. Next slide. So to sum it up, I would encourage you, we're basically doing what we call a free cloud cost optimization audit, right? So you basically have our email on the right side, info@adaptive6.com, or the QR code over there. What we would do is basically plug to the cloud. We basically uncover more than 200 types of waste and shadow waste across the multi-cloud, SaaS and PaaS, and code. It's a simple integration. It's agentless. It's read-only. It would basically provide both FinOps teams and the engineers with actionable insights that they could quickly deploy to get savings. And the last bit I would say is that we invite you all to basically participate. We are now working on 2026 State of the Cloud Cost Governance and Optimization Report. So if you have any optimization ideas, any things you have already encountered, like in terms of finding waste or hidden inefficiencies, please feel free to email us at statereport@adaptive6.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Aviv. Appreciate your speed there. Was impressive. You covered a lot. Thank you for going through such amazing learnings today. We are going to switch now into the more interactive portion of the event here and start getting into some of the questions that folks had for the presenters.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.